Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the Q2 FY22 earnings conference call of Tatva Chintan Pharma Chem Limited, hosted by Batliwala & Karani Securities India Private Limited. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star, then 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Ranjit Cirumalla from B&K Securities. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you, Stephen. Good evening, everyone. We would like to thank the management of Tatva Chintan Pharma Chem Limited for giving us this opportunity to host the call. B&K Securities is pleased to invite everyone on the conference call of Tatva Chintan Pharma Chemical Limited to discuss the Q2 FY22 financial performance. Without much ado, I would like to invite Mr. Chintan Shah to kind of give us an opening remark, post that we will take the Q&A session. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Ranjit ji. This is Dinesh. Good afternoon, everyone. We are pleased to welcome you all to our earnings call for Q2 FY22. Please note that the copy of our disclosures is available on the investor section of our website as well as on the stock exchanges. Please do note that anything said on this call which reflects our outlook towards the future or which could be construed as a forward-looking statement must be reviewed in conjunction with the risk that the company faces. With that, I would like to hand over the floor to our MD, Mr. Chintan Shah, for his opening statement.
Thank you, Dinesh. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Chintan Shah. We heartily welcome you all to the earnings call of Tatva Chintan Pharma Chem Limited. I take this opportunity to wish each one of you a very happy Diwali and a prosperous new year in advance. Let us hope we all have a wonderful, successful, and most importantly, a very healthy year ahead. I shall highlight Tatva Chintan's performance during the second quarter of current financial year. I am pleased to inform you that we have a historically record-breaking quarter in terms of revenue as well as profits. During quarter 2 FY22, we recorded more than 100% growth year on year. Also in first half of current year, we have exceeded the net profit of the whole of the last financial year. Most of the growth is attributable to a strong growth in sales of structure directing agent segment, which is coincidentally also enjoying better margins compared to the other product baskets. This quarter, the SDAs contributed almost 62% of the top line, which resulted in better margins as well. With the recent developments of having stringent emission controls and also increasing focus on continuous flow chemistry globally, there is a continuously increasing demand for structure directing agents. Our consistent performance in terms of high purity and supply sustainability has helped to build confidence among the customers, and this is helping us to gradually increase our presence in the global market. During Q2 FY22, phase transfer catalyst contributed 17% to the top line. Pharma and agro intermediates and other specialty chemical segment contributed 21%. These products are used in various industry applications including pharmaceutical, agrochemicals, paints and coatings, dyes, pigments, personal care, flavors and fragrances industry. During Q2 FY22, the revenues from electrolyte salts for supercapacitors is low. We have good ongoing orders on hand and deliveries are being made during the current quarter. So revenue from this segment will be reflected in the coming quarter. As the erratic supply of semiconductor chips is having an impact on automobile productions globally, and as major part of our SDA application is in auto emission control, we may see some impact on the demands of SDA over next 2 to 3 months. Going forward, the demands from SDA segment should see strong growth again. On longer term basis, with the global focus on clean environment and green chemistries, the demand for SDAs should continue to see good growth. Since most of our customers run their productions on campaign basis, you may at times see an oscillating demand of SDAs. Therefore, I shall again request you to evaluate us on yearly basis rather than on quarter-to-quarter basis. With balanced demand of all the 4 products vertical, we believe sustainable EBITDA margins on a yearly basis should be around 24 to 27%. With ongoing power prices and other issues related to China, we have been receiving more inquiries and potential newer products opportunities. With strong focus on developing new products by deploying green and sustainable chemistry, I am confident that we shall create larger opportunities for us in the various segments, including pharmaceuticals and agrochemicals, among others. We are aiming to identify and implement cutting-edge technologies for process and product development, where we are deploying electrolysis and continuous flow chemistry with the goal of increasing productivity, quality, and also cost efficiency, as well as adding newer products portfolio with the aim to promote green chemistry. We are in the process of capacity expansion by setting up additional capacities at our Dahej SEZ plant and are also expanding our R&D capabilities at Vadodara from the IPO proceeds. The capex plans are already in action and both projects are on schedule. This concludes my planned remarks, and now I would like to hand over the call to Mr. Dinesh Sodhani to take us through the financials before we open the floor for Q&A.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to briefly touch upon the key performance highlights for the quarter and half year ended September 2021. And then we will open the floor for question and answer. On the revenue side, quarter 2 financial year 2022 revenue from operations are at 1,236 million versus 600 million in quarter 2 financial year 21, a growth of 106% on year-on-year basis and a growth of 16% on quarter-on-quarter basis. SDS contributed 62%, PTC contributed around 17%, and PASC contributed around 21%, and the rest was electrolyte salt and the other operating income. Looking at the EBITDA, Q2 FY22 EBITDA including other income at INR 387 million versus 83 million in Q2 FY21, growth of around 365% on year-on-year basis and growth of 40% on quarter-on-quarter basis. Regarding EBITDA margin, this is 31% versus 14% in Q2 FY21 and 21% in Q1 FY22. The higher margin was the result of favorable product mix during the quarter. Coming to the profit after tax, the Q2 FY22 PAT at INR 324 million versus 36 million in Q2 FY21, a growth of 811% on year-on-year basis and 40% on quarter-on-quarter basis. Q2 FY22 PAT margin at 26% versus 6% on Q2 FY21 and 21% in Q1 FY22. One of the main results of our higher PAT margin is the lower effective tax rate, as the Dahej plant enjoys the benefit of the zero tax on the exports through the facility. This resulted in the earning per share being at INR 15.02 per share during Q2 FY22 versus 1.77 in Q2 FY21. Key highlights of half year ended FY22. Revenue from operation for the half year was 2,304 million, higher by 107%. EBITDA of half year was 663 million, higher by 242%. And net profit for the half year was 556 million, higher by 441%. EBITDA margin for the half year was 29% and the PAT margin at 24%. Out of our IPO net proceeds of 2,072.81 million, 396.85 million have been utilized as on 30th September 2021. During the quarter under review, our exports constituted around 81% of our total revenue compared to 71% of the financial year 2021. Our balance sheet remains strong with the cash and cash equivalent of the first half at the 1,794 million. That concludes the update on financial, and we will now open the discussions for question and answer session.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on the touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. A reminder to the participants, please press star and 1 to ask a question. The first question is from the line of Pushpendra Chand, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Congratulations the entire team for the great set of results. So my question would be, since the proportion of SDA is now increased to near 62%, what will be the normalized proportion of the SDA or the other components in an usual business condition?
Sir, currently, because of a very strong... Okay, now just to explain you in brief, first we have to make phase transfer catalyst, and then it is a forward integration of other process to convert the phase transfer catalyst to an SDA. Due to a very strong demand growth in SDAs and with a fixed capacity at the plant, so we did compromise on sales of phase transfer catalyst and given a priority to sales of SDAs. So this is one of the key reasons why we are seeing little lower numbers on PTC sales. But in an ideal circumstances, I would see the SDA's number to be in the range of about 50 to 55% in terms of sales.
Yeah, and in your last call, sir, I attended that, and you said that the profit margin in SDA is higher.
Yes.
So can we expect that since the SDA proportion comes down in subsequent quarters, will there be any pressure on the profitability margin?
Not really. So that is the reason why I mentioned in my opening remarks that we see because we see a sustainable product mix that should happen, then only your business model will remain sustainable. So because of that, we are forecasting about 50 to 55% in terms of SDAs. And I would say a fair numbers on EBITDA would be about 24 to 27%, which is sustainable. So this quarter with a 31% plus EBITDA is something very exceptional.
And if I can just ask one more question, what are the near-term growth plans for the organization in the coming years, this FY22 and FY23 onwards?
Right. So we are doing 3 major products with a large revenue potentials. Of course, these are all strong entry barrier areas where we are, so we may not see very immediate commercialization. But we are developing 3 key products using continuous flow chemistries, and these are now almost through the R&D processes, and now we are going for piloting of these products. So the key area where we are focusing with this continuous flow chemistry is into agro and pharmaceutical intermediates. So this is our future. So we see few years of very strong growth with SDAs, and then this should be coupled with a growth coming from the pharma and agro intermediates area.
Okay. Thank you, and congratulations again, Chintanji.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Sudarshan Padmanabhan from JM Financial. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for taking my question and congrats on great set of numbers. So if you can give some, idea with respect to how much was, the mix of SDA.
Sir, your voice is not audible. Can you please speak a little loudly?
Can you hear me now, sir?
Now it is better.
Yeah. So if you can give some, color with respect to the mix of the, of SDA, the pharma, and agro catalyst as well as the PTC for the previous quarter and the previous year at the same time?
So in previous quarter, basically we had so basically PTC sales in previous quarter were about 22 crores, which is at 20 crores. The SDA sales were at about 56 crores, and now this is at 76 crores. And the pharma and agro intermediates was at about 27 crores, which is at about 26 crores. I'm saying on quarter-on-quarter basis.
Okay. And previous
first quarter versus second quarter.
Yes, sir. And the previous year, sir?
Previous year, the whole year breakup was like about 81 crores revenue. So about 27% revenue from PTCs, 40% from SDAs, 1% from electrolyte salts, and about 31% from the pharma and agro intermediate side, which is now looking like 17% from PTCs, about 62% from SDAs, almost less than 1% from electrolyte salts, and 21% from the pharma and agro intermediate side.
And then going by the commentary, and also you pointed out that chipset, having an issue, that, probably we might have we might basically see a little slowdown in the SDA, more on the PTC side, which would be the right way, I mean, probably in the second half. And that is where I think that your 24 to 27% guidance also comes.
Right. So we would definitely see some reductions in terms of SDA sales, but not a very significant drop. But of course, because the way the chips availability is erratic, so most of the customers are guiding to go a little slow on this segment. So of course, we will see some reduction in terms of sales over the next quarter for sure. I'm not sure of the fourth quarter, but this may continue till the fourth quarter. But going forward, the demand looks quite strong again.
And sir, I mean, this incremental demand that you've seen in the SDA, almost like 20 crores. One is China is enforcing a fair amount of, adherence to the, BS4. Is it largely on account of, sales to directly to China or indirectly to China?
No. A part of the sales goes directly into China, but the final, unfortunately, we don't have any major zeolite producers in our country. So predominantly what we produce is being exported, and then part of it is definitely getting re-imported as a finished product back into India. So part of this application goes into China and the rest part comes back to India. So these are two current market areas where the final product is being sold, what we are producing.
Okay. And sir, with respect to, one is the new capacity coming in. I mean, is that on schedule given that, we have pandemic and there has been delays in some of our competitors? And second is, with respect to, the mix, I mean, should we be on course with the kind of working capital that we have historically been having?
Sir, can you please repeat this question again? Your voice is cracking a lot.
Yes, sir. With respect to our capex coming on stream, I mean, that is as per the guided timelines. And second is, with the new capex coming in, that gives us an additional legs to growth, specifically on the SDA side. Should the working capital remain, similar in terms of days, or would there be a change in the working capital? And also, if you can give some color on the, tax rate guidance.
Right. So yes, the capex plan is bang on schedule so far. So if we don't have anything like COVID or something unusual, then we are pretty confident that we will complete the capex as per the schedule. Secondly, with the new capex going online from the end of next year and the need for new working capital, so we are generating quite decent cash flows. So this should take care of the working capital, additional working capital requirements that should set in. So we should not see an increase in terms of debts from the previous year levels. And thirdly, this is our last year in terms of 100% tax waiver from the Dahej facility. So from next financial year, we will be charged at 50% of the applicable taxes.
Okay. So thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you. Before we take the next question, a reminder to the participants, please press star and 1 to ask a question. The next question is from the line of Manish Poddar from Nippon India. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, sir. So just 3 questions. First one is, probably could you help me understand what is the growth rate now for SDA for, let's say, the industry or let's say global level?
Sorry, voice is echoing. So can you speak louder or close to your phone?
Yeah, sure. So I'm just trying to understand what is the growth rate for SDA, let's say, any number either globally or, for the industry?
We are seeing a growth of almost 25% and beyond that is happening with the demands of SDAs. So now going forward also with the whole geography getting involved into the BS6 equivalent of norms, and going forward we should see a BS7 equivalent of norms setting in. So this growth rate is quite significantly strong.
So what explains then, let's say, the conversion which is of EBITDA to cash flow has not really happened. We have been given extra, we've been paying, we've not been getting that much creditor days as an extension. So can you probably explain that? Why is if the demand environment is so buoyant, where are we missing, let's say, in the conversion to cash flow?
No. So basically, we are paying on a little shorter terms in terms of credit and trying to avail better prices from the suppliers. If you see, our overall creditors has gone down drastically during this quarter, despite of having very strong sales and stronger purchases. But despite of that, so we are negotiating in terms of pricing because we have better liquidity. So why not take some advantage in terms of pricing?
Okay. And just one last one. So what is the blended utilization which we have now at the company level?
That would be roughly around 50 crores.
We have working capital about outstanding.
No, capacity utilization. Sorry, sir. I'm talking about capacity utilization.
Technically speaking, in terms of on books, it should show as about 70%. But in reality, when you see, the recoveries and all included, then I would say capacity utilization in previous quarter was close to 90%.
90%.
Yeah, almost at saturation levels.
So, and this capex project is supposed to come by Q4 of this year, right? On stream?
November of next year. November 22.
So if let's say
after the IPO only the capex has been kicked off.
So there is a possibility that you might have there might be a mismatch between demand and supply from our side.
That is strongly possible, yes.
Okay. So just one last feedback. If you could probably share, segment-wise performance, this broad 4 segments or internally how you look at it, let's say on a quarterly basis, that would be really helpful to understand the numbers much better. So that's the only thing. Thank you.
No, so what exactly you are looking for, sir?
No, I'm just saying, let's say the 4 broad segments which you divide the business internally, if you could probably put it in the press release, every quarter, that would be helpful for us to understand the numbers much better.
Fine, noted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Raj Shekhar, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Sir, good afternoon. My question is, whatever I gather, I think you export about 80% of your production abroad. How is your freight rates? How are you managing the freight rates? Is it inbuilt or you collect it from the customer? Thank you.
No, freight is definitely a big challenge since last 4 to 5 months time frame. And fortunately, we have been successful in pushing on those freight increases to the customers. So, though it has been a challenge, no doubt, but more or less we have been successful in passing on the freight increase to the customer. Again, if you see the recent challenges in terms of raw materials because of whatever is happening in China, so a lot of raw materials are getting into kind of short supply. Prices are moving left, right, and center. But now it's a market knowledge. Everyone knows that this is what is a reality. So no one is trying to earn extra margins by pushing the price, just trying to recover the additional cost. So hopefully and very truly the market has learned to absorb this kind of price increases. So that's a good part of it.
Okay. My second question is, you have told that your capacity utilization is almost 90%. That means your turnover should remain the same for the next up till your next capacity comes up. We cannot expect an increase in turnover every quarter, correct?
Right. So October of next year, more or less in this range is what we should see because we cannot produce more than what we are doing currently. So there would be a change in product mix. We can optimize that, but not to a very large extent. So we would opt to sell higher margin products or higher value products. But this would not be a significant increase for sure.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Dhruv from HDFC Asset Management. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much and congratulations. So the first question is on the tax rate. Can you help us understand it better? So Dahej has a tax exemption, and from next year onwards, you said that the tax rate will be 50% of the normal tax rate.
That's true. And Ankleshwar facility is already having a normal tax rate.
Okay. And so 50% of the normal tax rate, you mean the normal 25% tax rate. So 50% of that is what you will pay.
Absolutely.
And so for how long is this 50% rate applicable for us?
For next 5 financial years.
Okay. So
And
now
beyond
blended
that,
basis.
another 5 financial years. So there are certain conditions to meet in terms of capex infusions. And if we meet that criteria, then we will have an extension of another 5 years for 50% tax benefits. So in all, a potential to have a 10 years discounted taxes.
All right. And so the expansion that we're doing is also coming in the range, right?
That's true.
So that benefit will continue for the incremental capex also.
Right.
All right. So on a blended basis, the tax rate should overall remain, given Ankleshwar is full tax rate, the Dahej is lower tax rate. On a blended basis, it should be sub 20%.
Right, sir. Because see, Dahej, the growth is coming only from the Dahej plant because Ankleshwar facility is already super saturated since 2016. So there we see, if you see the revenue mix between the two plants, technically Ankleshwar contributes anywhere between 100 to 125 crores a year. And all the balance sales comes and all the incremental future sales will also come only from the Dahej plant.
Got it. Got it. I was just wondering, you don't even have deferred tax rate because your tax rate, I mean, I understand cash tax would be low, but the deferred tax rate is also, you don't have to charge. So your effective tax rate, what I see in your P&L for first half is about 10%. So I'm just wondering, there is even no deferred tax, is it? I mean, as an accounting entry?
Yeah, it is there because earlier we have a deferred tax liability.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Probably. Okay, I'll try to understand it later. And so just the second question was on the we are seeing this power and fuel cost increasing significantly. Yours is an electrolysis process. I believe electricity will be a decent portion. So how does it impact you, and if there is any significant impact for us?
I would not say it's going to be a significant impact because on an average, the electricity cost would for an SDA would be in a range of about 2 units of production. So, so let us say the unit cost today in Dahej is at about 4.3 rupees a unit, and it even goes up by 100%. Then still also the impact would be about 4 rupees a unit. I mean, 8 rupees a kilo and additional impact on power cost. Should not be a very significant number.
It will not change. It will not have a material impact.
When you consider an average revenue of about $10 to $12 a kilo, so an increase of 7-8 rupees a kilo, even if 100% power price are increased, it's not really significant.
So on a blended basis, on an overall basis, what would be power cost for us, power and fuel cost? Or overall, all inclusive, as percentage of sales probably?
4 to 5%.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Sure, sir. Thank you so much. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Sanjay Jain from ICICI Securities. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Chintan bhai, and thanks for taking the question. A couple of questions. First, on the raw material side, if we see across the specialty chemical company, there is a general sort of raw material pressure and there is delay in the prices getting passed on. Are we seeing any raw material pressure probably in the coming quarter for any of our raw material where the pass-through has a lag effect?
That was definitely a challenge, but we have, basically if you observe our inventories, we are carrying a significantly higher inventories in terms of imported raw materials. So this has actually come to our benefit because then we had that leverage of certain days where we could negotiate the new price with the customer, and till that point in time we were able to consume the inventory which was at a lower price. So now the price increases have been negotiated and passed on. So we kind of, I would say we were lucky enough to survive this kind of volatile price situations in terms of raw material. So that buffer inventory has come to our rescue, I would say that.
Got it. And next quarter also you don't see on an overall blended basis, except that we will have an inferior mix probably next quarter with SDA having lower sales and PTC having a higher sales. In general, on an underlying basis, we don't expect any gross profit margin pressure.
Right, sir.
Got it. Second thing, on the trade payable side, we said that we have cautiously decreased the days from 48 to 24 to avail the better pricing. Is that one of the factor through which we are managing or increasing the margins?
So that impact, so this is based on these grounds, we are renegotiating the pricing with the customers, with the suppliers, and that we may see some marginal improvements in terms of pricing on some key raw materials to happen from coming quarter.
Now, is this a steady state?
Because of certain suppliers are also under pressure because of increased prices of their products. So in certain cases, the increase in the price is nearly 100%. So they are also struggling in terms of managing their working capital requirements. So this is a good chance for us to negotiate the prices, and whatever benefits we can avail by paying at a shorter credit period is always helpful.
So is this a steady state working capital we have to work with going forward?
Sorry, sir?
Is this a working capital day steady state from here onwards, or we may say further increase in the working capital days?
Actually, if you see, our working capital has also gone down significantly. That is purely because of the profits that have been infused back into the system. So that has helped us to actually reduce our working capital requirement as well simultaneously.
No. I'm talking about the working capital days. So we have 109 days of working capital in the first half. This days going forward should remain steady state, right?
I should think so, yeah. That is a fair estimate, yeah.
That's a fair estimate, right? On the new opportunities on greener and cleaner chemistry we spoke about, which is coming our way with China crisis and our ability to innovate, what can you just highlight some of the opportunities or the areas of the sector where we are seeing increased traction, and are we significantly moving into producing via continuous flow chemistry, given that we have an edge on understanding the zeolite?
That's true. So basically, if I put it correctly, we see these strong opportunities coming from the pharma intermediates and the agro intermediate side. And primarily, the larger concern for the multinational customers is to identify an Indian supplier who can produce it or develop it in a sustainable manner, environmentally sustainable manner. So that is where our efforts in terms of doing things on continuous flow or the electrolysis basis is really helping us out and putting us forward in the race to getting this kind of products under development. So today we have about 4 large opportunities in pharma and agro intermediate side where we are working on continuous flow chemistry. And this can open up really big doors for opportunities in the future, near future, I would say.
Got it. And in terms of new greenfield capex we are doing, what is the kind of reactor capacity and the assembly line we are planning to add, and what is the present capacity and assembly line that we have?
Right. So we at total between Ankleshwar and Dahej, today we have about 280,000 liters of reaction capabilities, and we are increasing by 200,000 more. So from 280 KL, we are going to 480 KL post this expansion. When we came up with an IPO, I think that time we had about 17 assembly lines for the SDAs, and we were talking of increasing that by about 10 assembly lines further. But instead of that, we have already commissioned 12 assembly lines. So as of today, we are sitting on 20 assembly lines and 29 assembly lines. And going forward, we still continue to intend to add those committed additional 10 assembly lines. So post expansion, we will see 39 assembly lines in terms of SDA productions.
So what we are telling is that we can potentially double the revenue from where we are today, considering that the new entire greenfield capacity is online. Will that be a fair assumption?
Not on the same day when it goes online, but
no, not on the same day at a full optimal utilization.
Yes.
So that visibility will we have, and what is the time frame we look to use that new facility coming on board?
So commercial production trial should begin by December of next year, and the commercialization, actual commercial production we target to have from January 23. So the last whole quarter of next financial year, we should be able to utilize the full expanded capacities. And probably I should say, as a fair estimate, we should take about 2 years from there to fully saturate that capacities.
Got it. Got it. And a couple of questions on the battery side where we have a good exposure. Both Glyme and electrolyte salt. Now, what is the traction we are looking at, considering that there is a lot of enthusiasm or there is a lot of growth in the battery segment? How does it translate as an opportunity for Tattva Chintan, both at the electrolyte salt opportunity as well as the Glyme opportunity?
Right. So as of last quarter, we had one commercial customer and one was under approval process. As of today, we have one commercial customer and our products are in approval processes under approvals with 3 customers. So we have identified 2 good opportunities in terms of electrolyte salts, and where we are working with these 2 new customers, and none of them is from China, so it's coming from different geographies across the world.
Got it. Got it. And Glyme?
So Glyme, yes, Glyme we see this potentially an increasing demand in terms of Glymes. So we are right now in negotiations with a customer for an application into EV battery. So Glyme into EV battery. I'm sure this is not going to happen overnight. It may take about a year and a half to eventually get a commercial approval. But now we are already in the process of going into approval with the Glyme application in EV battery.
One last bit of question from my side. Yeah, just the last question.
Sorry to interrupt, sir, but we have participants waiting in the queue for their turn. For any follow-up, may we request you to rejoin the queue. The next question is from the line of Mulay Savla from Shah and Savla LLP. Please go ahead.
Thanks for taking my questions. Chintan Bhai, my compliments to you on a very long, strong friendship with Ajay Bhai and Shekhar Bhai. And also heartiest congratulations on good set of numbers in this challenging time of higher freights, higher input cost, and supply chain disruptions. Most of my questions are answered, but sir, I just wanted to know that our facilities can produce different SDA and PTC interchangeably on the same lines, or there are separate lines for each product?
No, these are multi-product assembly lines. So we can interchangeably produce different products on the same assembly lines. So there are very vigorous changeover processes because we are talking of very high purity substances. So a typical changeover takes about 6 to 7 days to clean up and then to use that assembly for a next product. So we normally prefer to use it in a dedicated manner so that we don't lose those 5 or 6 days of production by way of a process product changeover.
Correct. And especially when we are running at almost about 90% capacity, it makes sense not to waste time in changing the lines.
Perfect. Yeah.
And sir, you said that some of the new products you are selling to existing customers, whereas some new customers are also under pipeline. And you said there are 3 more customers in pipeline for electrolyte salt. Are there any customer in India also who is trying to source electrolyte salt from us?
No, only on R&D scale, but nothing on commercial scale so far.
Nothing on commercial. And sir, when we are almost at this capacity, we did not plan capacity expand little early because almost 1 year from here, you will be having additional capacity, not immediately. So is there any opportunity to get things done outsourced from some other manufacturer?
We are trying to identify those kind of things, but the only constraint that comes our way is the quality of products that we have to offer. So we have tried to identify a couple of contract manufacturers where we can do some of the things on contract basis. But we have not come across a very good facility who can handle this very ultra pure kind of products in their plant. So we are working in that direction. I would personally say I'm not very hopeful to find someone, but we are working hard in that direction.
But we may not be keen also, right? Okay, we want to find if we can find.
No. So today ours is a diehard need to find someone, but surprisingly we are failing to find someone.
Oh, okay. Great. And I think my other questions are answered. So if you can just update us on order book position for next 6 months or so, that will be helpful.
Sure. So we see a good demand in terms of quite a stable demand. So based on these earlier 2 quarter numbers, you can say that we would probably more or less remain in the same region. So we have a good order book on hand as well. Yeah.
Right. And you maintain your EBITDA guidance of 24 to 27%, even after commercial production of electrolyte salts, or you want to increase it little further if those products are kicked in?
No, I think this is a fair estimate, what I am suggesting, and this is pretty much sustainable. So if we give some absurd number, probably it may be true for like a couple of quarters, but in terms of sustainability, I would say 24 to 27% is a good number.
Great. Thank you so much, and all the very best.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Gaurav Chopra from Union AMC. Please go ahead. Mr. Chopra, your line is in talk mode. Kindly go ahead with your question, please.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible now.
Sorry. So, sir, thanks for taking my question. I just had 2 questions. So you spoke about these electrolyte salts and lime. So could you help us understand what is the opportunity size for Tattva Chintan? And is there something that the capacities for the supercapacitors or EV batteries has to come in India for us to have a larger revenue contribution from these products, or you're competitive globally as well to supply these electrolyte salts and lime? So if you could throw some lights from a 3-year or 5-year outlook, like what contribution we can have from these products.
So in terms of electrolyte salts, this is still a very new technology area where real commercializations of the technology is just beginning phase. So we may see a larger commercialization in terms of our opportunities for selling the supercapacitor batteries probably 2 or 3 years down the line. Though it is growing very fast, but still in terms of numbers or value, it is still too low. So we may see about 2 to 3 years when you will see a lot of applications of supercapacitors coming in our day-to-day life basis. So this is a kind of a disruptive technology. It may take 2 years to really go to a full scale, but that has begun to happen. Secondly, in terms of blinds, today we are making it using a conventional chemistry. So that is where we are feeling restricted in terms of increasing the productivity because of limited capacities at the plant. And to overcome this, to go on a mass scale, we are actually quite successful in developing this using a continuous flow chemistry at R&D scale. And now we are into detail engineering mode to take it to the pilot scale. So probably 2 years down the line, we will see Tattva Chintan getting into a continuous flow chemistry based line products. This is where we can actually start pitching in for larger demand. So the opportunities can increase multifold once we are in that area of continuous flow chemistry.
Got it. So this lime is what you're talking about will go into lithium-ion batteries. And what would be
There are 2 major applications. One, the lime is used as a solvent in a lot of API production processes. And second application is as a solvent for dissolving the lithium salts in the Li battery. So these are the 2 key applications of that lime predominantly.
Got it. So there would be globally, there would be existing players in this product.
Yes.
And from our perspective, it will make only sense. It will make sense probably when we have some domestic manufacturing capacity for either lithium batteries or supercapacitors.
Right.
Got it. Yeah, that's it from my side.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Pritesh Chheda from Lucky Investment Managers. Please go ahead.
Sir, I just wanted to reconfirm the capacity that we have in SDA today, and via the expansions that we are doing in the phase 2 and phase 3. What kind of capacity expansions are we taking in SDA and in the PSAC area? So, you mentioned a certain way in a kiloliter form, and then you mentioned SDA lines. I was just trying to correlate with the tonnage. And the 28 SDA lines that you mentioned, or 29 SDA lines,
29.
Those are sorry?
Yeah, so 29 SDA lines are operational as of today. So we started increasing them. So as on probably as on 31st March, we had 17 lines. And slowly and steadily we started adding 1-2 lines a month. And today we are at 29 lines. Now this is kind of a saturation where we don't have additional space to install more assembly lines till we have the new capex going commercial. So from 29, we will go up to 39 when the new capex plant gets into commercial mode. In terms of, basically SDAs are quite complex, so each SDA sells at a variety of, depending on the application, depending on the customer. So each SDA has a variety in terms of price as well as in terms of concentration. So something sells at right from 10% up to 55% in terms of concentration. So it is, again, the molecular weights are significantly different for different SDAs. So it is very difficult to put in terms of numbers, in terms of absolute numbers. So it is better to go by in terms of tonnage, rather than tonnage, in terms of capacities in number of assembly lines. And reactors, again, it's same like SDA's production in assembly lines. Reactors also are multi-purpose, so you can make variety of products who have different reaction times and different segments catering to those reactor capabilities. So I would say usual practice should be better to see it in terms of kiloliters rather than individual product capacity.
So what you're doing in terms of incremental capex?
So if I put it correctly, I would say that we are, the Dahej facility is basically going from today's 200 kiloliter at Dahej is going to 400 kiloliters. Only Dahej, if you see as alone. So almost doubling the reactor capabilities. So you can understand the volume of PTC and the rest of the things where we are targeting. And in terms of assembly lines, we started with 17 in the beginning of this financial year. And completing when the capex plants are over, we will end up with about 39 assembly lines. So it is more than double is what we are expanding in terms of SDA production, if I can put it correctly.
So SDA production will only rise 50% from what you are today, right? Because you already have 28 SDA line as on quarter 2. And
yeah, that's
right. Right. And what incremental capacity?
By 50% in terms of SDA production.
Yeah. And the bulk of the capex is then outside SDA, which is basically in PSAC.
PSAC, yeah.
Okay. And what is the capex amount that you have? So I have phase 2 and phase 3 at 150 crore. I'm confused. Is it 150 crore combined for phase 2, phase 3, or it is 150 crore individually for phase 2 and then phase 3?
Basically, it is not phase 2, phase 3, but the Dahej capacity expansion is where we are spending on about 150 crores, which is related to expanding our production capability. And then we are spending about 24-25 crores for expanding our R&D capabilities at Baroda.
Okay. And this 150 crore, what should be the asset turn?
Ideally, in the beginning, we see at about 2.5. When it comes to near saturation, somewhere between 3.5, 3.6. So on an average, I would say during that span of the growth, we should, on an average, we can say at about 3.
Okay. 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 This will be helpful, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rohit Nagraj from Emkay Global. Please go ahead.
Thanks for the opportunity and congrats on good set of numbers.
So the first question is in terms of the CapEx. So you indicated that by January 23, our CapEx will be in commercial phase, and probably in the next 2 years, we will be able to utilize it at saturation levels. So for the next leg of CapEx, what is the early timeline that we'll have to decide upon based on the lead times of items as well as other areas? Thank you.
So we have actually started looking for a piece of industrial land where we can set up a chemical plant. So that process has been initiated as of now, and we intend to close that probably within next 3 to 6 months time frame. And then typically you take about a year to year and a half to get environmental clearance. So let us say today we are in October 22. We can say we can complete this within 1.5 to 2 years of time frame. So let us say about April to October of 24 is when we should start doing the next round of capex. So you first buy the piece of land in next 3 to 6 months. Take about year and a half to get your environmental clearance is done, and after that you can actually dig the ground. So probably somewhere a fair estimate would be somewhere between April to October of 24. 23.
Right. Thank you. That's helpful. So the
2 years to complete that project. So by the time we see a near saturation coming to the existing expanded site, by that time we should be in a pretty good shape to pick up production from the new site.
And normally, is there any leeway in terms of further debottlenecking from the existing capacity?
Sorry, I didn't get your question.
Yeah, so we will be putting the Dahej capacity, and once we come to probably 70-75% of utilization, is there any possibility of debottlenecking the capacity to get another, say, 10-15% in the interim?
No. So we have left a small piece of land unutilized post this capex plan. So, but it would not definitely not impact to an extent of 10 to 15%, but nominal emergency probably 3 to 5% of expansions we can look at.
Right. So the second question is in terms of margins for 4 segments. So individually, just to arrange them in terms of the highest margin segment to lowest margin segment, how would we classify that?
So from highest to lowest would be SDAs, followed by PAFC, pharma and agro intermediates, followed by electrolyte salts. They are almost the same, PAFC, electrolyte salts, and then followed by phase transfer chemicals.
Right. So, and incrementally, since we are adding the capacity for SDA, the margins should certainly look better because the highest margin product will be added in the kitchen, right?
Right.
Thank you, sir, and best of luck.
Thanks.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Pushpendra Chand, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So thank you for taking my question again. Chintanji, one question. Since capacity utilization now has reached near 90%, and you said you have hardly any scope to take it forward. So are you also conducting any sort of productivity improvement or kind of debottlenecking of the existing facility? Because as I understand, the new facility is coming up in another 5 quarters' time. So till that time, to improve the top line, are you taking up any initiatives which will improve your revenue?
We are doing whatever possible. So like I said, we increased this assembly lines. So this we could do by vacating our small warehouse, and then we rented out a warehouse on outside premises, moved the products. So out of the 3 warehouses, we vacated one of the warehouse, converted into a plant and set up assembly lines there. And then we had to rent out a place outside our plant to stock up the products that were already there in that warehouse. So this is what we try to do in terms of optimizing our production capabilities. But I think we are now near almost there. So there is no further scope of increasing in any way. So I think this is what is a fair number. So the way we can increase our revenue or things is by optimizing what we want to make and what we don't want to make. So the better products, the larger revenue products, larger margin products. So those kind of priorities can increase slightly, but not in a very big way.
So what I understand then, in that case, if in case that SDA margin is say higher than the other products, if the demand is high for SDA, so in that case, in a multi-product assembly line, then you can opt for more percentage of contribution from SDA, which is currently at 62. And if I see from Q4 and then to Q1 and Q2, the proportion of SDA has increased. So in that case, if you want to improve your bottom line, so SDA proportion can still go up, right? Is my understanding correct?
Right. So that is a natural choice to do because you have better margins, better volumes, better demand. So why not do that? Yeah.
Exactly. No, so why I was asking is that your guidance was around 52% of SDA as part of overall revenue. But in case if the demand is high, if the market is good, then in that case SDA can also inch up, right?
Yes.
Overall.
Like how it happened in this quarter, the SDA contributed almost 62%. Yeah.
Thank you. And all the best for the coming quarter. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Sanjay Jain from ICICI Securities. Please go ahead.
Thanks, Chintan, for taking the question again. Just one or two incremental question.
Sir, your voice is not audible. Just slightly higher volume, please.
Is it good?
Yeah, now better.
Thank you. Just one or two questions which I couldn't ask last time. One on the R&D side, what is the number of people we have today and what are we increasing post this expansion in the R&D facility? That's number one. And number two, if you can give some color on the R&D pipeline which we have, either in terms of number of molecules that we are looking at, and post the expansion, how the R&D will look like, say, for next 5 years?
So as of today, we have 8 doctorate levels. So that is a significant, I would say in terms of R&D personnel, it is always to gauge someone's capabilities if you identify the number of doctorates working with us. So to focus on that, today we have about 8 doctorates working for us. And this is what we intend to expand between 20 to 25 doctors working with us post the expansion plans. And it doesn't mean that we have stopped recruiting more doctorates. So we are still undergoing interviews to recruit better and better talent. So that is an ongoing process even till the expansion happens. Secondly, we have issued an appointment letter to bring in a chief technology officer, so a very senior level person who would eventually coordinate between R&D, production, projects, and also bring in new technologies kind of thing. So a very senior level person has been given an appointment letter in terms of being to induct him as a CTO, Chief Technology Officer. So that is another new big addition in terms of our talent pool. In terms of products being in the pipeline, so this is an ongoing process. So let us say in terms of SDAs, so today we are doing about 24, 25 SDAs. The last quarter we have sampled, sent samples and 1 kg, 5 kg of product at that scale. About 6 different products have been shipped out from our R&D facilities. But these are all long-term, because of the entry barriers, the development plans are longer. So this is an ongoing process. So last quarter we did ship out about 6 new samples of SDAs. And as of today also we have about 25 SDAs under the development plans. PTC is also again a similar thing, which is an ongoing based on certain new developments or new requests. It's an ongoing process. Now, what we are doing on active mode is on continuous flow chemistry, where today we are very actively doing 4 products. using continuous flow chemistry. And then we have about a pipeline of 6 identified another additional products which will take up one after another. So today we have restrictions in terms of number of projects we can handle using continuous flow chemistry. So when we went for IPO, we had just capabilities to handle 2 products at a time, which we have now increased to be able to handle 4 products. Our continuous flow department had only 2 doctorates, and today now we have 4 doctorates working for that department. It's an ongoing process of increasing our R&D capabilities.
Got it. Just one last bit of question on the SDA side. How is the competition intensity on SDA side? Are we seeing Chinese player trying to get into SDA or any other people trying to get into SDA? It looks like a very, very lucrative opportunity with an extended benefit of getting into a continuous flow chemistry. Are we seeing many people trying to get into SDA, or you think it will take a longer period of time for people to get into the position where Tattva Chintan is today?
Sanjay ji, I would definitely say that anyone trying new would see a time frame of at least 4 to 5 years to get into it at a commercial scale where we are today, at least, and not less than that. And of course, when these demands are increasing globally, everyone knows that this sector is quite lucrative. The demand, the growth is very fast that is coming up. So I'm sure there might be people and companies trying to venture into this. But the strong entry barrier still remains for everyone. So what we have faced in last 8 years, I probably think anyone trying to venture into it new would also face a similar thing.
So what will be the key entry barrier in SDA, whether it's the level of purity, cost of manufacturing, getting approval from the customer? What would be the biggest challenge for anybody getting into this segment?
So the first challenge is, the key challenge is the technological challenge. So to do this kind of ultra pure products, so that is one is the technological challenge. Number, to develop the technology to successfully meet with the desired ultra pure specification. So that is number 1. Number 2 is also your capabilities to produce the prerequisites. So that is the phase transfer catalyst or the quaternary compound that needs to be produced in an ultra pure way. So that is a number 2 challenge. And of course, the biggest challenge out of all this, I would say the biggest challenge is to get these approvals and to get the customer convinced to try to it, because the cost in terms of approving someone or some product is very high. So you will be surprised. So where our competitor is already approved before we actually set up our Dahej plant, as of today, we have not been able to get approval for an ongoing commercial product so far, despite of supplying the same customer with any other application that has come online after we created the Dahej facility. So where we are approved with the same customer, but the same customer is not interested to approve us on old products which they are using already before our Dahej plant was established. So this is the kind of big challenge that you see in this particular area.
Fair enough. That was very clear. Thanks, Chintan Bhai, for answering all the questions. And best wishes for coming quarter.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, due to time constraint, that was the last question. I now hand the conference over to the management for their closing comments. Over to you, sir.
Thank you everyone for participating and for your lovely questions. We hope we have been able to answer most of your queries and satisfactorily. If we have missed out on any of your questions, kindly reach out to our IR advisors, Christensen, and we will get back to you offline. Once again, wishing you all a very happy Diwali and a prosperous new year. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Batliwala and Karani Securities, that concludes this conference call. Thank you all for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.